Welcome to News Across the Galaxy, where we talk all things LA Galaxy. This is the Midweek Show. Today, I'm being joined by my co-host Edgar Zuniga. How you doing, sir?
Hey, what's up? I'm over here at NAG Tower East, the big, massive studio where you spent billions of dollars building. And actually, I'm outside the stadium. What am I saying?
You're actually at Solid Stadium. Perfect.
Yeah, I don't know
And
what
uh,
I'm doing here. It's
and
like
we
a
have
perpetual sunset.
we have a special guest all the way from Seattle. Rave Green TV on YouTube. Shauyan, how you doing today, sir?
Dude, I'm honored. I'm excited. I'm happy about my life. Not when it comes to the Sounders. That's a whole other area of depression. But in regards to myself, I'm doing good and I'm happy to be on and I'm excited to chat with you guys.
Before we get started, I know we had some topics we had to talk about, but I just have one in my mind right now. Your YouTube channel. How did that come about, and what is it about?
Um, oh God, Rave Green TV. It's a whole shebang. It's a thing that's new. I mean, obviously, you guys are probably people that have been watching soccer. I mean, before we started the recording, I mean, me and Edgar were talking about players back in the heyday of Fuchi ball. And in Europe, a big thing is like fan channels. And I wanted to finally bring one to Seattle because we have such a big fan base and we saw it with like Austin, Atlanta, Charlotte. I mean, especially I think AJ from Atlanta United Fan TV really pioneered it. And so it was something in the back of my head. I've been doing content creation since like 2021. I've been doing it for a while. If you guys have followed my journey personally, if anyone's watching that does, I started with podcasting and then doing my own channel and then rebranding it and starting Rave Green TV because I didn't know what my niches were and whatnot. And so when I was in England back in 2021, I in my head I knew I was gonna start Rave Green TV. I was gonna start finally a Sounders dedicated page because I saw that gap in the market because it's just been the same people talking about the team since '09, and I was like, this is starting to get a bit granola and like it's getting boring. Like you already know what they're gonna talk about. They're not gonna talk about anything controversial. They're never gonna poke the bear. And I was like, there's so many things, underlying discussions to have about this team. And so in 2021, when I was in England, I got the opportunity to get on Arsenal Fan TV. I was at the Arsenal Manchester City game. I was rocking a Sounders jersey just because I don't give a rat's ass about Arsenal or Manchester City. And I just made a stupid line that then the clip went viral where I said if the Sounders faced off against Arsenal, they wouldn't win. And so I did that just because I knew then I would have a recognizable face to the Seattle market. Then I began Rave Green TV because during my content journey, I like talking about the Sounders. They're my local club. They're the only club I support. And so I decided to start this page, and for good or for worse, we're 3 seasons deep and I'm still doing it. I'm surprisingly still alive doing it. So I'm very happy about it.
I heard that. I had heard that Seattle does have a pod, and I would ask around because, in my experience, I've come across many podcasters from across the country. They have fantastic production. They put a lot of time and energy into covering their teams, and you could tell that people that follow them really appreciate that kind of energy. And then when I was looking up Seattle and even Portland, I was surprised that I didn't see that many people covering the team in that type of media. And I'm shocked. I was like, these are the Cascadia teams that have been around for so long. What's going on here? And then I heard that Seattle had like they have a pod and it's run by the team, which to me defeats the purpose. I'm like, no, it's supposed to be fan media. You're supposed to get that perspective from a fan, from that's more raw, that's more organic, like you said. So, hey, man, more credit to you. And like we said earlier, thank you so much for joining us. Um, but one of the other topics that we want to discuss with you because we wanted to know more about the history of the club is the history of the Heritage Cup. A lot of people aren't aware about that. They know about the rivalry between Portland and Seattle and Vancouver, the Cascadia Cup. And they know about the old rivalry between LA Galaxy and Seattle that's kind of stewing, I guess, at this moment. But then you have the Heritage Cup, right? It goes back a long time to the NASL years. What can you tell us about that? Is this something that still uh, brings Seattle fans, wanting to get that Heritage Cup and lift it up?
I don't think, if I'm going to be transparent with you, Edgar, I don't think many Sounders fans even know it exists. I mean, I barely knew anything about it. I mean, you're bringing it up now. It's pretty much the info that I know. It's a rivalry match between Seattle and San Jose. It dates back to the NASL days a long time ago. That's where that whole thing began. And that's about it. Obviously, I think for the majority of the time since San Jose and Seattle have been in MLS, Seattle's had San Jose's number. But for the last couple of years and last week, San Jose just for some reason keep clapping us in San Jose. So we haven't been that great against them either, but that's pretty much the best of the knowledge I have for that. You'd have to ask Brian Schmetzer. If you had Brian right in front of you, he would be able to talk about it because he's a guy that loves talking about his heyday and the OG Sounder stuff. But sadly for me, I wasn't alive back then, and I don't know much about when it comes to that rivalry other than pretty much what you said.
But by the way, you say Schmetzer, and right now Vanny probably like looked up
His
and looked
ears are
around
ringing.
because you mentioned his name and he starts having panic attacks.
Yeah, and we'll get to Brian Schmetzer in a bit. Also, congratulations to Seattle for 50 years of soccer. That goes in ties with the Heritage Cup, which nobody really knows about nowadays. But let's discuss what we're here for. Let's discuss the current state of the Seattle Sounders, who, in my opinion, as a Galaxy fan who has had and seen all these titles being won in LA, for the past decade, Seattle has been the model team to copy in MLS, and they kind of showed everybody how to be successful without quote unquote big stars, like us when we had Beckham or we had Zlatan. Right now in Miami with Messi and the whole Barcelona team that they have now. What has been the difference, and what is really going on with the Seattle Sounders right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big fabric was we weren't a team that bought in the big stars, and that's a big shout out to Freddie Ljungberg, to everyone watching, because that was our first big signing back in '09 was Freddie Ljungberg. And since he kicked up a fuss and wasn't a great player and thought he was better than everyone else on the team, we just that was just never our ethos after that. We're like, you know what? This just doesn't work. It's like it wasn't worth it. And so then ever since then, we always bought good players like a Rui Diaz, a Ladero, an Obafemi Martins outside of Clint Dempsey. But even then, like Dempsey's a big name, but he's a really just big name here in the US. Like if Dempsey went to Germany, everyone would be like, who's this guy? Like it's just like he was a big star, but in regards to like we signed those type of players and that's what we were successful. And fast forward now to 2024 and yeah, it's not good. It's really not good. We are in last place, have just scored one goal from open play. We look really down bad. And it's kind of something that I was worried was going to happen for the past 2 seasons. I was preaching to fans that we don't start shaping up. You could just start seeing the cookie crumble things happening ever since we won CCL and or start of that 2022 MLS season. We just were never the same team in MLS ever since then. And it's gone to the point because we are so obsessed with having the same squad that is really old and overcooked. Now we're at a point where shit, our team is really, really bad. We haven't rotated the team in regards to ingoing, outgoing transfers for ages. And now we're sitting in last place and we look like chickens, like with our heads cut off. And I think that comes down to partially Brian, partially our GM, Craig Weibel, who facilitates the signings, and the club itself, because they've gone complacent. They know that, we're going to buy tickets, we're going to buy jerseys. So it's like, are we like, do we still want to keep reinvesting in the squad? This is only surface level. This is just my opinion. And maybe some of this could be similar issues to what the Galaxy have. I actually did a video on you guys last year on my personal channel talking about the downfall of the LA Galaxy. So I got to learn a lot about your guys' organization, what's going on with it, what's with this whole Chris Klein out stuff. And not in regards to we having like a Chris Klein out situation, but it's like the investment's been poor in the team. We've been complacent with sticking with the same players and not selling players at the right time. Like, for example, players like Nuhu. I mean, like Nuhu's the guy who had a high value after the AFCON when he pocketed Mohamed Salah. And even after the recent AFCON, Victor Osimhen, out of all fucking people, he was like The best defender I went up against was Nuhu. And we don't have the balls to just be like, hey, let's cash in on a left back that's good, but not like a game-changing player for us, for example. Recently, we got a big offer for Liao Chu from Fluminense, and we're like, nah, we're not going to take it. It's just like, we need to start getting the ball rolling with changing our team. And I think MLS is starting to change, and we're not willing to change with MLS. And that's, I think, the main thing that's going on, be it with tactics from Brian, be it from our GM not making the right signings, ingoing, outgoing transfers, and the club just kind of taking the fan base for granted with being not, pushing this envelope of like, okay, maybe things are kind of going a little bit south, because this is not a thing that has just been sprung up this season. This is a thing that has been clearly shown since 2022, that the Sounders are starting to have this decline or transition period, but we have done nothing about it. We can't change in one transfer window. It's going to take 3 or 4 windows, and we just have chosen to put our hands in our pockets, under our feet, and do nothing. And so that's why we're at this point right now. I'll be curious to see if we can do something in this game against you guys, but I don't think so.
Was was the departure of Garth Lagerway,
Yes.
was that
Yes.
like one of the things that
Yes.
set this off? Because
Yes.
Atlanta, they're starting to build something up again down there.
Yes. Yes.
So what happened? What happened with Garth Lagerway? I thought he was a shoo-in.
Garth was the only player that jumped ship when he knew things were starting to go south. I think this is just a very hypothesis. I'm just thinking off of like a outsider's perspective. Think about it. Garth put all his eggs in the basket to win CCL in 2022. He got the roster that he needed. That was bringing in Rusnak being that final piece we needed to solidify the midfield. He won CCL, and he's like, ugh, things are kind of going south with this team a little bit. I think it's time for me to jump ship. Unlike anyone else, he's the one who jumped ship. And that it's like the Zidane when he won the 3rd Champions League with Real Madrid. No one understood why the hell would Zidane leave after winning 3-peat Champions Leagues. He just left when he knew shit was gonna hit the fan. Like Ronaldo left. That was like a really bad transitional period for Real Madrid, for example. Garth just saw it. He's like, you know what? This is gonna be a rough time, and I don't want to be a part of it. See y'all later. And so he jumped ship when it was the right time to do so. And it's like the Batman quote, guys. Remember when Harvey
Oh
Dent said to
gosh.
Batman,
Yes.
either you die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And I think we're seeing that with Brian. I think we're seeing that with Rui Diaz. I think we saw a little bit with Ladero. I'm worried we might see that with Stefan Fry. And that's the thing is are we going to know when to let go, when it's the right time to do it? Because like if we sold Rui Diaz back in 2022, like, yeah, he only had like 7 goals, but he was one of the golden boot candidates in the CCL. So he had value. But we didn't do that. We're like, he'll be fine. He won't have 7 injuries in a season. Well, guess what? He did. And so it's like we're not playing our cards. We're not being the ruthless team like when with Garth. Like, for example, when we won MLS Cup in 2019, went to the final in 2022, like we had no hesitation to sell, like, for example, Leardom. And you guys were a team that had him. He was arguably one of the best right backs in the league. And same with like Brad Smith, for example. We sold him to DC for a lot of money. Yeah, they were like arguably one of the best outside backs in the league, but Garth saw, okay, we might not be able to get the same production out of them, and we're getting big offers for them. And I know they were a big part of us winning MLS Cup, but might be a good time to cash in now while they got a high value and teams are offering, instead of maybe taking that risk of losing that value. So that's all I'm gonna say. I think Garth plays a big part in it. It's not that, but it's not just like, I think that's a big chunk of it. I think it's a good conversation to have, but yeah, losing Garth was kind of it was sad.
Yeah, let me tell you, I follow the Scarves and Spikes podcast from
Mhm.
Atlanta, and they were so happy when they got Garth Lagerway,
Yeah.
and for a while they were kind of wondering, hey, he's not doing anything, like like that little meme of the guy poking the
Yeah,
thing
kicking
saying
the
do
with the
something, right?
stick.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you started seeing him pull some strings, and now they're like, yeah, this guy's a man.
I mean, you're already seeing. I mean, I think the biggest prime example of Gart's good signings is Yaku Makas, bro. I'd
Oh
give a
God,
fucking arm and
Ooh,
a leg and a
what a
amazing player.
nutsack to have
what a
Yaku Makas
striker.
on my team.
What a
Yeah,
striker. Not he was last year he was on fire. I know this is a Seattle versus Galaxy podcast, but let's talk
no,
about
we can
like
talk about
MLS players that are very impactful.
yeah.
He's not a big name by any
No,
means of the chat, and
No
he
one
is
even talks about him.
what a forward. What a forward. That's the
he's
forward that I mean
fearless,
any team
man.
in MLS would want right
And
away.
that's a guard signing right there.
Yeah. Ooh, you
Yeah,
guys, damn.
and then look, he's holding on to Thiago Almada.
Hmm.
I mean,
because he's waiting. This is Garth. He's waiting for the right offer to come.
Yeah.
yeah,
This
Oh,
is
and
speechless.
yeah,
oh,
and
yeah.
just like you're mentioning that, right? Knowing when to do things. This is why LA Galaxy was so bad. I mean,
Yep.
it's this weird malaise about the club for the last 10 years, because the people in charge were so used to doing things a certain way that they felt it's almost like a turnkey operation where they're like, oh, it's gonna run itself. Things will happen automatically. The people will keep coming to the stadium, but then
Just like what I mentioned with Seattle. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
it didn't happen like that. And then you started to look beneath the surface. I once described it as flipping over a rock and seeing all the little creepy crawlies just start scattering everywhere. And because when you look beneath the surface, it was not something pretty, and it took a very ugly, very passionate fan protest, and to finally drive home to the franchise that things were going really bad and change needed to happen. And for a while there, it seemed like nothing was going to happen, and then it did. And all of a sudden, what, 18
Two,
months later,
yeah, two
almost.
seasons later, you guys are looking like you're on the right direction now.
Yeah, it's in the right direction. People want to say, "Oh, we're back." No, we're not there yet.
You're not
We're
totally there
getting
yet,
there.
but you're on the right path. And that's the thing is I want to emphasize the fans. That's what I want to preach to fans. But like some of these Sounders fans are so like they're just eyes are tinted with the Sounders Kool-Aid, you could say, of like, oh, anything the club does, we must trust the club. Like it's like whatever your government politicians tell you, no, come on, use your 2 cents, use your eyes, use what you're seeing here, and like notice that things are not going entirely well, and it's okay to criticize the club about these things. And we're seeing that with some fans, like regularly for the first two the like season opening games for the Sounders, you have 40 plus thousand fans. It's dropped off to an all-time low, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but to 30,000. Like it's a big drop off. Obviously,
Yeah.
most clubs like a Chicago or something would kill to have 30,000 fans consistently in their stadium, but like you're seeing that fans are getting fed up with it, and that but then there's some fans that are just like they don't want to accept that, oh, it's okay, like making excuses and stuff. And I'm like, no, that's not going to do you any good. And like what the Galaxy did was they like, I was really respectful to your guys' fan base for that. Is you guys finally were like, no, fuck this. Like we want something to change. And you guys were like, I'm not drinking the Galaxy Kool-Aid anymore. We're going to do something about it. And look, you guys are now steering in the right direction. Your team looks so fucking good. And I'm happy because I want you guys to run LA. I don't want it to be LAFC. And that's a known thing. LAFC fans don't like me from a certain thing I said on the interwebs, and they just don't like me. And that's fine because I don't like them.
Are you
It's
allowed
the same.
to repeat what you said online?
It's on Twitter, so you could probably find it. It was a tweet on Rave Green TV. It was just something like paraphrasing. I just think their fan base is I don't know, just they're kind of like I want to use the right words, but like they throw a lot of fits when they like, for example, like they throw like when we won the Western Conference final in LA, like they're throwing beers at our players
Oh
when they're
yeah, I remember that.
celebrating. And then it's like same thing in MLS Cup final, like they were tossing beers, even though they only scored one goal. And like it's just like I don't know, like their fans, like where were they when they were Chivas USA? Like I don't know, like where were they? And it's just like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like there's a little bit of a plasticness to this fan base. It's like, where did you guys all spawn from? And
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know. I don't like that. And I think they're a little bit of an entitled group.
It's like I said earlier, when you flip over that rock and all the creepy crawlies go everywhere, they ended up at BMO Stadium. So there you go.
But
Um,
it makes for great content when you have a team like that who has those type of fan bases because when you play them, it's something that you could talk about whether it's on the field or off the field. So I mean,
I mean,
you know,
don't get me
there's
wrong. They're a passionate group, but
yeah, of
like, I
course.
don't know. There's just something that doesn't sit well with me with LAFC. Like, I dislike them more than I think I dislike Portland a little bit.
wow.
It's because, funnily enough, I actually have a lot of Portland followers on my page. So they actually like the stuff I do. And so I'm surprised by it. I've turned a leaf with Portland fans. I'm actually friends with many of the content creators that talk about the team. So I've turned a leaf. With LAC, no, they have a passionate fan group, but I think I love seeing the Galaxy run LA. That's just how it is what it is.
Yeah, thank you. But quickly, just going back to what you said about fans voicing their grievances. Um, just last season, like I said, I follow a lot of the clubs around the league. I saw Charlotte fans were very upset with some of the things that were going on, and that's a really young club in MLS. And you know, there was some change at the top. In comes Dean Smith, and this year Charlotte's a lot more competitive. In Colorado, there's a very vocal fan protest, and when you say vocal fan protest in Colorado, right? It's such a small little fan base, but my goodness, they saw what happened in LA and they went and they got up and left in the middle of a game. They left signs saying that they were embarrassed with the club, that the club wasn't representing the badge, and that change needed to come. And they made sure to protest and made their voices heard. And over the off season, Colorado, at least on paper, made the
They put
effort
in
to
a lot
put
of
together a more
investments. Yeah.
competitive club, right? I mean, they still have poor. I mean, they still have Kevin Cabral. Damn.
Dude, but
The
But
GOAT. What you mean? The GOAT.
bro, Edgar, I don't want to hear it because like, bro, he scored against us this season. So it's like
oh yeah, he did score, right? But there's a lot of issues going around in MLS. I keep hearing rumblings from Austin FC Fan TV about Josh Wolf. They're very upset with Josh Wolf. When Diego Fagundes came to the LA Galaxy, they had a huge like Twitter space where like hundreds of people were on at the same time, and I was really curious because he's coming to our club, so I jumped in there and they were just going off about how dare they do this to us. Josh Wolf didn't like him. Of course, he's going to force him out. The fans organized to meet him at a parking lot somewhere, and Diego
yeah, I
Fagundes
saw
showed
that.
up
And
to
it did
say goodbye to the
happen.
fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they saw I was on, and they asked me, "Hey, what's up, Edgar? You want to talk?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm shocked to see you guys are so upset about this. I guess we're
Because you
getting a
don't
really
normally
good
see
guy."
that in MLS. You really don't. And I was even surprised, like, why is this such a big deal? Like,
Yeah,
The thing with that is that at least now the fan base has some type of a voice when it comes to maybe moving things in the right direction with their teams. Like example with us, it might not have been directly with us, but at least we were able to kind of stand out and be, hey, we didn't like this, so maybe you guys should do something about it. And it happened. I mean, we're probably not the first MLS club to do it. I'm pretty sure Edgar he's a historian. There's probably other MLS clubs have done that before. But to see it in the modern era of this MLS, it kind of gives hope for everybody else to do kind of the same thing.
because that's
yeah.
more of like, I mean, we've seen it with plenty of European clubs when they're not happy, like their fans. And like, I don't want like MLS fans to be like snowflakes, the right word. Just like let it happen and just like, no, just like if you really feel like there's someone going down with your club, we're seeing it now more that the teams are saying something about it, and that's great. Like Edgar said, like with Colorado, we saw good change. The amount of transfers they made is like a 2-season window. They made it all happen in one window. Let's see if it will gel together. I mean, Chris Armas is questionable coach, but it's not the worst thing in the world. I think you got to give him a chance. He's on the worst coach. I mean, I think it's the same thing with Phil Neville. I didn't like how people just slagged him off, and I was like, technically he's the best coach in Inter Miami history. I mean, he got him to the playoffs. They've won a playoff game under him, so it's like you can't slag him off too badly. And he's doing a pretty okay job so far with Portland, so big shout out to that. But
I
yeah,
love that stat, by the way. The best coach in Inter Miami history.
I mean, it is true. I mean, they finished like 5th or 6th place with him. It's not bad. I mean, like they've never finished any higher.
Yeah, it's
So
not bad. Well, I mean, also this whole fan engagement kind of adds on to the knowledge of what MLS fans have now, which means the sport is growing in the United States, which
yep.
means the fans recognize when a bad player is on the field and he shouldn't be on the field. Uh, for me, that kind of makes me happy because because I've seen this league. I mean, started watching the league in '96 with the LA Galaxy. Of course, I was 7 years old. I didn't really understand the sport, but throughout the years of watching everything, playing the game, watching other leagues like the Premier, La Liga, and all these other leagues with top-notch players, understanding what a good player is, now watching MLS grow and seeing the growth of MLS, I'm seeing the growth of fans as well because of the knowledge of the game. So it's a beautiful thing
And the accessibility too.
yeah, 100%. And that's beautiful to see. Of course, there's going to be a lot of disgruntled fans that hate their club, yourself right now. But I mean, that's part of the game and part of the sport, and which I love. Before we get into the game, there's been a new update. Pro referees are back to MLS.
Yeah.
Edgar, I know we had a live show on Sunday, and you wanted to rant about the referees that were not the actual referees. The floor is yours, sir. Today's the
Well,
day.
I'm gonna put a plug into that old rant, because at that point it seemed like we were saddled with these refs for the conceivable future. Um, I mentioned earlier, I have contacts with different pods around the league, and so we're on this group chat, and everybody was like, "My goodness, I'm over here in Chicago, and it's just chaos. My goodness, I'm over here in Charlotte, and you should see this game. This is insane." Like, for example, Lee from Charlotte, CLT FC Fan TV says the first half was coming to an end. He got up to go use the men's room, and he was there for a bit, and then he came back and he saw they were playing, and he's like, "What the hell, did I miss halftime? It's the second half started." Like, no, it's still the first half. They had 20 minutes of added time in the first half. Wow. Right. There was a lot of bad calls against both teams in that game, Columbus and Charlotte. And then you started going across the league, and everybody was complaining. There's a podcaster from who covers San Jose Earthquakes. His name is Saz. We had him on before, and he was saying how it was just the game was practically unwatchable. And he says, he was like, I ref on the weekends, and there were so many rules that these guys did not observe basic stuff. And he started going through the list of different things that any referee at a certain level, especially at this level, right, elite level, should have to at least pay attention to. And he's like, they were just not paying attention. It's unwatchable. It's ruining games. I can't take it anymore. So everybody's like at this point, at this boiling point, and then um you know, on the heels of the worst officiating we've had in MLS thus far this season, we get the news, right, that the drought is over. Here come the pro refs, and yes, we get to complain about Tory Pencil again. We get to complain about all these refs, but like I said, we get to complain about them for committing elite errors.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and looked ahead to see who we're gonna get for our match, Galaxy versus Sounders, and we were pretty lucky. We got one of the more respected officials in MLS, and Ismael Elfaf. Um, and I went ahead and looked it up with Elfaf in charge. Galaxy all time has 11 wins, 2 draws, 5 losses, but against Seattle, he's done 2 matches, 1 draw and 1 loss against Seattle. So hey, there's some hope there for Seattle. You never know.
What about you,
What's your take on that,
Shauyan? Yeah,
Shauyan?
what about you? What you got about the refs?
I don't know. I never really paid attention to it. It's nothing that really, I mean, you can only control the controllables. I was nothing anything that I will say, I think in the last game against San Jose, the penalty we got, and I know it was for us, super duper questionable.
Yeah.
Like I was surprised it was even given, but I know I've seen a lot of people complain about it. I've never been in the boat except for when Iran plays in World Cups. I've never been in the boat of complaining about referees. I just, as I said, you can only control the controllables, and that's how you perform on the field. Yeah, sometimes refs have really bad performances, but I think it's kind of childish behavior if you're really that worried about what the ref's doing and how he fucked my team over, and like I don't know. I don't think it's really ever the case.
Yeah, I as a weekend warrior on Sunday League matches, yeah, there's sometimes that, you want to talk so much ish to the ref and throw your water bottle at them. But at the end of the day, if you're not making the opportunities that are in front of you and putting them in back of the net, then you wouldn't have to worry about the refs fucking you over at the end of the match, right? And I do agree with you, Cheyenne, but there is also some calls
Yeah, sure. They've been questionable calls. I agree with that.
The
that you
But
are
Busquets
luckily,
like,
hit
yeah,
flag.
you're like, oh,
luckily
what?
it's a thing of the past.
Yeah.
It's over. It's over now.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. Which brings us to this weekend's match. Oh, did you have something before we get to the weekend match, Edgar?
Yeah, I was just gonna say it reminds me of like I have a friend who was she was from New Zealand and I knew her in college, and we got to talking about football, right, and rugby, and she mentioned about how rugby players interact with match officials compared to an footy, and she said it's like the old saying that football is a game, a gentleman's game played by ruffians, and rugby is a ruffian's game played by gentlemen. And it's true. You go and look at any rugby match. I mean, a rugby test. I'm sorry. You go look at any rugby test and you watch them throughout the match, and they have the utmost respect for their officials. And when the official tells them something, the players nod in agreement. And when the refs get really mad at them, the players will apologize. And it's funny seeing it because these are huge 300-pound, 6'5" guys. And they're like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then you look at football and guys are screaming at the refs, getting their faces, shoving them.
Or like Ronaldo flipping them off right to their face.
Yeah. So it's
Ronaldo.
it's a funny thing, man.
I'm
But
still mad at
anyway,
Ronaldo. I'm still mad at Ronaldo. He should have been in MLS, to be honest. What a
Think
imagine him
so?
right now in a Kansas
yeah.
City jersey.
Well, the
It
team
was
that was supposed to have him was
the
Kansas City.
Gallic. Oh yeah. Well,
Kansas
I
City
was
had
gonna
the
say
best.
yeah, but I feel like Galaxy was always meant to be that team he would join because of the countless the friendlies you guys have played against Real Madrid, and it just seemed like it was gonna happen, but he went to Saudi instead.
Yeah.
Oh, we heard about Giroud going LAFC, so
Oh God, dude,
that's
that's
gonna be
pissing me.
interesting.
That pisses me off because I feel like he could have been a perfect. This is a total side note, but I put out a post saying like, so when Arango came back to MLS, I said I thought the Seattle should have tried to get him, and when Giroud was interested coming to MLS, again, I was like Seattle should be interested in him, and people were like, when I said that about Arango, they were like, "Oh no, that like Rui Diaz is so much better than him," and I was like, "Bro, are you guys blind? Like Arango's a way better player right now than him." Fucking clapped us in Leagues Cup Arango, and I was like, okay, where are all you guys now? Where's your guys' takes? And with Giroud, everyone's like, oh, I don't want a 38-year-old on my team. And I was like, then you don't know ball. That's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. The guy's still playing at striker for the French national team, arguably if not the second best national team in the world, and is one of the top goal scorers in Serie A. If you don't think he would help out a Sounders team that can only score a goal from open play against three of the worst teams in MLS. That is a dumb take. I would have killed to have him in Seattle. And some people were making the excuse, oh, but he doesn't want to come to Seattle. Would want to come to LA. I was like, well, money talks. It doesn't matter where the location is if you're paying him enough, but we don't want to give people money and we don't want to change your team. But yeah, that's just a total side note. I just was surprised by people making the excuse because he's old. I was like, that's such a lame, dead ball knowledge thing to say.
Watch 3 months from now, you're gonna be discussing how Mbappe changed the whole culture up in Seattle.
Yes,
Why
okay.
not?
When Griezmann comes, because Griezmann's a big Mariners fan.
Oh,
There you
So
perfect.
go.
There it
yeah.
is. Perfect. I know you mentioned Orango and you mentioned Giroud and now Griezmann. Let's get into the match. What does your guys' lineup look like? Because I know you guys are full of injuries right now. And since you mentioned those forwards, what is it going to be a two-parter? What lineup will you show up on Saturday? And since you don't have those forwards, what's been happening with the Seattle Sounders in the final third?
We don't score. We don't create chances. Our forwards are straight fucking dookie balls. I mean, I don't know what to say. Rui Diaz only can score penalties. Morris, fuck me, man. I want that guy to just be gone.
Hey, we'll
I
take them.
don't.
God.
I would happily sell him to you guys. Yeah, he's been terrible. I mean, I'm personally someone that has never necessarily rated Jordan Morris. I think because he's a Seattle boy, we really bat a blind eye to him a lot. I will say I think his first year here was good back in 2016. I mean, you guys could probably fondly remember that when poor old Steres got his career ended by Morris on the sprint and then went on to score. That shit was crazy to me. I thought I was playing FIFA for half a second when I watched that. I was like, this can't be real. And then in 2019, but dude, he's not it. It's like I just don't I think Jordan should be hitting the bench. I mean, he's had 4 straight awful games, terrible games, and he's still starting. You can't reward someone for that. I personally would start Musovski. He scored our only open play goal so far this season. He's had limited minutes and has done more than Jordan Morris. I mean, what you grade a forward on is goals. That's a fact. And he has scored and Jordan has not with countless good opportunities. And so I think what we'll see is the same lineup as last week. If I'm going to keep it 100% fucking honest with you guys, it's going to be the same lineup as last week. But what difference changes I would make is I would start Musovski over Jordan Moore if we're going to play 2 strikers. If not, that's not a big deal either. I would start Cody Baker, and I know this is such a hot take. I'd start Andrew Thomas over Stephen Fry. Those 3 players have been
Ooh.
our standout players so far this season. How are you, dude? Andrew Thomas, literally, when we played the Rapids, was the only reason we tied the game. He saved a penalty, saved that crazy free kick by Mihailovic, which obviously Cabral scored the open goal to, but it's like, that's not his fault. Like, he had a man, he literally was the man of the match. And then I get Fry's the number 1, but like, I feel like he deserves to start on merit. And that's the same thing with Cody Baker, had a great game against San Jose. Musovski scored, but none of them are going to start. The guys who
Mm.
actually deserve and are fighting for minutes and are proof like they're fighting, like they have the fight in them, unlike the guys who just keep getting starts just because they're the big name players or they're the star players who aren't performing at all. But I think we'll see a pretty close to similar lineup like we did against like the San Jose game. So
Edgar,
Yeah,
same
I'm really
question to you,
curious.
sir.
Yeah, no, actually, I'm really curious to see something has to give because you're talking about how Seattle comes in with all these, injury woes and so many question marks. And then I look at the managers, right? And for some reason, Schmetzer owns Vanny. Yeah, like it's like Vanny's like living in his pocket constantly. And
I think this
the
is the
last
game
time
where that
Galaxy,
changes.
what's that?
I think this is the game where that changes.
Oh God. I mean, he did it against Vermees. He had never defeated Vermees before, which is kind of interesting.
And that was a
Um,
great performance by you guys. All you
Oof.
guys are down 2-0. You guys turned it on. It only took 10. That's the potential with that's what makes me scared. And that's where I think this could change because you've seen it now back-to-back weeks with the Galaxy, and I apologize to cut you off, Edgar,
no,
is that you guys have turned around 2 good games where it looked like, this might not be the day for the Galaxy. And we've seen it in years past with this team where when that shit happens, you don't see the Galaxy do anything. This is kind of like a good turn of the stone for you guys. You came back against Nashville, you came back against SKC, but they were like in quick spans. Like they weren't like you guys were dominating the game. You guys were unlucky. It was like you guys were playing fine. It was a 50-50 battle. Maybe you guys were slightly the worst team. But then I want to say it's because of Ricky Pooch, the game changed. And that's a good sign. And that's what scares me about this team is see, we've seen it already. Seattle can dominate possession. They can do their horse shit, do nothing with the ball, meaningless possession. And then Ricky Pooch, bam, we're down 3-0. What are we going to do? And
yeah,
that's what I'm scared about with this team because we don't score goals. And you guys do, and you can turn the game on its head. So I think this could be the game that Vanny changes it. Regardless of, I hate the excuse of injuries because on paper, our team's not bad. We played Austin, San Jose, and Colorado, the 3 worst teams in the West, and we didn't get 1 win. Regardless of our whole fucking team was injured, we should be winning one of those games. And the main player that we're missing is João Paulo. Like that hurts a lot, but it's like it's not like the end all be all. Like we should still be winning a game. So like yes, we have injuries. Liao Chu's going to be injured for this game too. I think he's kind of stinky. I think he's kind of, but like he scored last time in LA against you guys, but I
mhm.
still think he's kind of stinky. João Paulo's injured. I think that's a big loss. I think I think Yamar might not play. He might play. I'm not sure the situation with him. Um, I'm trying to think. Obed Vargas is hurt. He's been kind of stinky this season.
Asensio's back though.
Atencio's back, but honestly, does he deserve to start? Because his red card was really stupid. Like, It was really dumb, like
I mean,
two yellow cards.
he's a young player though, so those mistakes
Yeah,
are gonna come.
that's okay. I'd rather, yeah, I agree. But like it was stupid and there should be slight punishment for that because it's like, nah, I don't know. You kind of cost us the game there. I'm not gonna lie. You kind of cost us in that game against Colorado. Because we go down to 10 men and it's like, oh, we're playing on the back foot. Atencio is back. I would still start Danny Leva though. I think he had a good game against San Jose. People aren't gonna like me saying this because I'm buddy buddies with him. Oh, I'm being biased. Nah, fuck you guys. Like he deserves to start over Tensio. He at least deserves to be given a chance. Yeah, but like that's the I don't know, man. I don't want to talk about our team because I just don't really rate anybody on our team. I mentioned three guys that deserve to start, and it's so sad because I don't get it. Like I don't know why they wouldn't play. They've been better. Andrew Thomas has been the best player this season, and I get it. Fry's the number one, but I don't get it. I don't understand. And like,
I feel your
we'll
angst,
see.
man.
I could be wrong. Fucking Brian Schmetzer could be watching this thing, this podcast today, and he's like, you know what? Shauyan's fucking right. I should change it. And Brian has literally admitted to me he's watched my videos. Obviously, this isn't on my channel, but he's literally told me he wasn't happy about something I said after. That's crazy, isn't it? Brian wasn't happy with what I said when we lost 3-0 at home to Portland.
No, you gotta be able to take the criticism,
Yeah,
right?
100%. Especially from the fans. We go to pay
Yeah.
and watch these players, and if you're gonna stink it up, we're gonna tell you you're stinking it up,
Yeah,
right?
it's but I think those are three players that deserve to start. Cody Baker at right back, Danny Musovsky, who I didn't necessarily rate the signing. I didn't think it was a bad signing, but he scored. Fuck me. That's more than anyone else on our team. So he should start. And I don't, as long as those two start, it's fine. Andrew Thomas starting is like a low key pipe dream. So I think those two deserve to start, especially. I really think Moore should hit the bench this game. I
Oof.
really do.
Against a really hot, undefeated LA Galaxy. Edgar, you had some thoughts about our lineup coming up against the Sounders.
Yeah, for the first few games of the season, LA Galaxy had a pretty set lineup that they're putting out. But now, especially after what happened in Kansas City, there are some question marks and some changes that I think need to be implemented to keep this lineup fresh. And if they don't work, then make some adjustments at the half. But this is what I'm saying: keep Gabriel Peck starting. We were talking about how important it is to get him up in in there so he could develop that chemistry with Ricky Puig and with Joseph Pinto and Dejan Joveljic in the middle. And also, I think it's important that we get Gaston Brugman back in there. Edwin Cerrillo has been, he's done fantastic so far this season. A lot of people don't mention him much because he just one of those guys that just works hard and doesn't really show up on the score sheet. But in this last game, you mentioned how from your perspective, you thought it was Ricky Puig who made the difference, but it was things really changed when Gaston Brugman came in. Gaston Brugman was one of the stalwarts from the starting lineup last year until he went down with injury, and it's taken him a long time to get back into form. And when this guy is on, he is on. He's usually like a CDM center mid,
He's like your
and
Joe
he
Paulo.
and one of the
Yep.
things that's important about him is that he comes in and takes some of that pressure off of Ricky because we've seen Ricky come all the way back to the final third and he likes to carry the ball up. And against St. Louis, he got punished. St. Louis, they made it a point to pressure him as often as they could and get under his skin. And they followed him as he was trying to get the ball
Man
cleared out of
marking
the
him,
final third. And
basically.
that's when they trapped him and he tried to like that stupid little back heel to get out of the area. And no, they punished him for trying to be cute. Well, a player like Gaston Brugman comes in and takes some of that pressure off of him so he doesn't have to worry about that. And Ricky can just focus on creating. And we saw that when he hooked up with Joveljic a couple of times. The first time it was caught offside. The second time, which is almost the same identical play, just a few minutes later, boom, goal. Um, so that's one of the things I think is really important for this club. Joseph Paintsil, oh my goodness,
Bro,
I
that guy's so fucking good.
he is yeah, like a lot of us are just like, damn, he's good. And then I talk to other podcasters and they're like, my God, this guy is scary, he's a menace. And I'm like, damn, I'm just watching this guy and I'm like, what can't he do? I mean, every time we see him play, we're like, what's he gonna do next?
I'm so
And
worried he's gonna cook our defense.
yeah, so hopefully, um, he stays healthy for a long time. Not gonna wood. Right now, the LA Galaxy, as far as like injuries are concerned, the only real thing is Jalen Neal, and this has been a topic for the last couple of weeks because some of the pods we've gone up against the teams, um, they've asked me, "How's Jalen Neal doing?" And I've been asking around, and it turns out he re-aggravated a sports hernia that he had, and so he's going to be out for at least 3 to 5 weeks for now. So,
Fun fact: his first goal is against Seattle.
yeah, and yeah, Jalen Neal is an amazing player. I um, I got to see him play for the U.S. in Charlotte last summer, and when he came on, he got a really nice ovation. So he's already there in the radar of the U.S. national team fan. They know who he is, and I think he's going to be an important player for that program in the future. But for now, the focus is just getting him back on the field, getting him healthy, getting him back to that form, which we saw where at such a young age, to have a defender that's so unflappable, doesn't get nervous, he doesn't get flustered. He's just very serious, does his thing. And it's important to have him in there because center backs are old. We love Maya Yoshida, the captain. He's old, he's older guy. We love Martin Cáceres, also older guy. So to be able to get some young blood back there, that'd be important. And I have heard that LA Galaxy is working on trying to get a center back at some point, just because we're so thin at that position, which is goes again to say it's important for the guys to stay healthy. But that is the lineup. McCarthy in the back, Julian Alde out on the left, Martin Cáceres and Maya Yoshida in the middle as center back, and then Miki Yamane, who's done an amazing job out in right back. And then Mark Delgado and Gaston Bruman have him there in the middle with Ricky Puig, and then Diego Fagundes, who we mentioned earlier, was been so important to this club. He's going to have to sit out this time because we're going to have Gabriel Peck start instead, and then Paintsel and Jovelich in the middle. By the way, I keep mentioning Jovelich because he made a big fuss about the way we pronounce his name. So he said, "My name is Dejan Jovelich." So we're like, okay.
Yeah, not Jovic, which we
Yeah.
butchered it plenty of times on this show.
Well,
Edgar, with that lineup that you mentioned, I know you mentioned Paintsell earlier, both of you guys did, and it goes back to what I was saying about you don't need that big name, you just need effective players on the pitch.
Like Bouanga,
Dennis Bouang, who was he? And last year killed
playing
it,
in League Two in France.
and he came over here and just killed it. Another good Paintsell from Genk. I mean, if you're an avid football watcher, I'm pretty sure you don't know where Genk is at, right? And that's
Yeah.
basic common knowledge. And coming over here, he's just killing it. We're almost to full health with the LA Galaxy. Jalen Neal is the last missing piece. We're about to face Seattle, who is depleted with injuries, playing a bunch of young guys. Shauyan is saying that there should be a better keeper instead of Stephen Fry, who I believe is one of the
No,
greatest
he
keepers in
is. He
MLS.
is. He is. He is. But it's like I just like I feel like players deserve to play on merit. That's the thing. That's the only thing I'm saying. I still think Fry deserves to be the number one, but it's like I just am so sad because I was like, I just don't feel like you're distilling the right ethos. If you're like, okay, well, go fuck yourself. You played well, but you don't get to play again. Like, I don't know. Like that's the part where I'm like, it's it's not a good ethos to have, but that's just my take. I still think Fry is one of the best goalkeepers, if not the best goalkeeper in MLS history.
Yeah, and so with that, um, the last 5 matches that the LA Galaxy and Seattle have played, Seattle has won 3 of them. They've drawn 1, and the LA Galaxy has won just 1 game.
When was
Uh,
that
let me
one?
remind you that that one did not matter because it was against the Baby Sounders in the Open
Oh, it
Cup.
was in
And
the Open Cup? Oh, I
yeah, that
this
was
forgot.
against the Baby Sounders. I
a
remember that. I
win's
was
a
at that
win,
game.
baby.
A win's a
No,
win.
Nah, it wasn't a
I'm
win.
not satisfied. I'm
I
not
mean, either.
satisfied.
And so the win probabilities in this match is LA Galaxy at 49%, the draw at 26, and Sounders at 25 to take
Oh,
it.
25. Oh, okay.
25% to get a
Pretty
win
good.
away. This is one of those games where you see the LA Galaxy have been unbeaten in these last 5 with a great match against Kansas City in their stadium in the Blue Hell. You're undefeated. You're playing against a team who is depleted on
It's
a
down
on a
bad. Just say
bad
it.
run.
Say it. We're down bad. We're down
This is
bad.
a trap game for me.
Really?
Yeah, this to me seems like a trap game because not only do those factors that I just mentioned plug in, but you also have a Brian Schmetzer who is basically Greg Vanny's sensei in this aspect. And what more would Brian Schmetzer want to do than to spoil the party in LA and break our undefeated streak? Um,
Basically, you guys becoming Charity FC.
Edgar, we're playing a depleted Seattle team. They're on the ropes. They're down bad. How do you think it's gonna go this weekend?
Man, like you said, it is a trap game. I was thinking about that earlier today. Uh, one thing that I always tell people, especially in sports, is you always have to be very careful of a wounded animal backed into a corner because it will bite you and fight you and might even attack you and take you down. I mentioned that to a friend of ours who watches the show. He's a St. Louis fan named Musa, and he's from
Oh, the
Senegal.
gift goat himself.
Yep. Shout out to
Yeah,
Musa.
so Musa, and I remember we were talking about AFCON, and I was like, "Hey, man, you better be careful. Senegal might lose this match." And he's like, "No, man, we got this." And then I was like, "Yeah, I don't know, man. Ivory Coast is kind of dangerous. They haven't done well." And then boom, and it happened. And I was like, oh, "So sorry, Musa." But I'm looking at this, and we were wondering when is the last time Galaxy beat Seattle? 5 years ago, actually more than 5 years ago. It was
I don't
Galaxy beat
remember.
Seattle 3-0 on September 23rd, 2018, which is seems like a lifetime ago. Actually,
That
like
is a
almost
lifetime
six
ago.
years ago. God damn, it was a long time ago. So Seattle's maintained its dominance for quite a while, which is interesting because for a while Galaxy and
Because it was the
Seattle
other
were
way
had
around.
these had a big rivalry. They were just going at it. The MLS Cup came through LA or Seattle during for a while, and so like you said, it's a trap game. I mean, I still think that this club has learned from past errors. Seeing that Vanny had the wherewithal to come back and flip the tortilla, or like we're gonna say the pupusa against Vermees, then I feel that Galaxy will have enough to be able to get a win. I'll say I'll say 3-1 um, over over Seattle. I'm not trying to be a homer. I'm just being as I'm
Dude, trust
impartial as
me,
possible.
Edgar,
I
you're
think
not a
Seattle's
homer.
hurting, and
No,
like
we
listening to you
are.
talk about them, it makes me feel like, damn, they're really bad. They're really down bad.
But it's our own fault. We have no one else to blame but ourselves.
Cheyenne, same question.
Uh, it's it's interesting because I think you both bring up really good points that this could be a trap game. But then again, we've seen the tides go back and forth. I mean, my first heartbreak, there was two first heartbreaks in the year of 2014 when Messi scored a 90th minute winner against Iran in the World Cup, and then Janino scored that bullshit goal in the playoffs to knock us out because I felt like that was our year to win MLS Cup, and that team was so cracked, and I thought we were gonna win the treble, and then Janino was like, "Nope, psych." And so those are my first two heartbreaks. And like we saw for years from like '09 to 2014, like Galaxy always had Seattle's number in the important games. And then it switched big time from like 2015 to like 2020, let's say 3 or 2. And I think now this is where the tides might switch again, but it could be a trap game too. And I only can see Seattle doing well is if they make those changes. If they switch up the lineup just a bit more. Play the players that may deserve to play, switch up the formation. We've surprised him playing two strikers so far to start the season. So maybe if he switches things up. I think we could see maybe a tie if things go well like that, which I don't think is a good result for the Galaxy. I think this is a game you guys it's kind of win or nothing in my opinion. But I think this is where Vanny gets his first ever win cuz Brian's on the sword. It's kind of an interesting split right now with the team where fans are kind of 50-50 on is it Brian in or Brian out right now. And he's got to get a win because the more and more we don't win, the more and more fans are going to start going on Brian out. And I don't think that's really ludicrous to say because yes, he's done a lot of great things for us, but like if you're not winning games, you're not winning games. Like I don't know what to tell you. The past is the past. I'm talking about the here and now. And so I think he knows he has to win this game. As you guys mentioned, he has Greg Vanny's number. You guys have become a kind of a bogey team. And so my Sounders bias is going with the 2-2 draw, but my brain, my football prediction god status brain, is saying 3-1 as well for the Galaxy.
Oof. Ah.
But you said it was a trap game, so I'm
Yeah,
curious to
so
hear what you
this is
say.
this is where I think it's just a decade of trauma with this LA Galaxy team, where when it comes to the good teams, we play well, but when it comes to the bad teams, we play down. Uh, Seattle fans, take it how you will. Seattle's not good right now,
I
and that
mean,
is why, like,
I don't. Why would we take offense to that? We are in
that
last place.
yeah, but this is. I think this is a game where Seattle does show up and actually wakes up. I'm not predicting Seattle to win at our house, but I don't think this is a game where Greg Vanny is going to get that one win against Smelter this time around. I'm going to agree with you, Cheyenne. With your heart, I'll go with mine as well. It's going to be one of those ties where the LA Galaxy might have to battle back again from being down. Our defense, as solid as the veterans are in the center back, we've been kind of leaky with goals. We just got two against us from Kansas. The game before it was three. So that's 5 in 2 games. I know Seattle Sounders aren't very good in the final third, but if you have a leaky defense like that, what makes you think they're not going to score more than one?
Well,
For me,
I
I'm
feel
gonna
like we
say a
played
tie.
against worse defenses and we still couldn't score. But yeah, continue.
For me, this match, just because of the trap, I don't think we'll lose at home, but I feel that a tie is valid, especially because the undefeated streak is on the line. And as much as people don't want to downplay that aspect of it, it's still in the back of the players' minds. And
It's an important stat to keep
yeah,
going.
yeah, and especially seeing how the LA Galaxy has been so bad these past couple years. Now you're actually pretty good, and you want to keep that undefeated streak going. And I mean, ooh, trap game. I'm not very comfortable with this weekend's match. Go ahead, Edgar.
Yeah, what will a win over Galaxy do for the psyche of the Seattle fan, by the way?
I'm sorry, was that a question to me?
Yeah, I mean, I'm serious. Like, what would happen if Galaxy is in here undefeated after 5 games, and you mentioned about Paintsill looks like yes, menace, is fearsome, right? And
And
then
same with
Seattle's
Joveljic.
hurting, and all of a sudden, boom, Seattle wins this game. Do you think it'll make a big difference in the mindset of the Seattle fan, or are people still going to be kind of down?
It depends. It's like it win and then keep adding on to that success, or just win and then go back to normal. That's all it depends on. At some point, it's got to start. Nothing's gonna change. Nothing's gonna change. So if you win this and then start getting onto good form, then it's like nice. That's better now. But if you win this, like kind of like just a one off, then it's like, oh, we win this and then we get booty tickled by Montreal. Then shit. Then it's not good because then we're back to square one again.
Yeah, it's true
Jeez.
that. So I guess Cheyenne and myself are the only ones that have it a tie. Edgar, of course, has it at a win. Hopefully,
Regardless, no Seattle win.
regardless, no
Yeah.
Seattle win, of course. But we are at the end of this discussion. Once again, thank you, Cheyenne, for coming on and blessing us with your presence and your knowledge and your shit talking, because that's what we like to do here. This is a pod of all feelings and no facts. So we just straight talk shit. Um, let the people know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, just across all social media platforms. Just look up Rave Green TV, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Rave Green TV. That's the spot to look at our content. I'm blunt. I'll say things as it is. Yeah, that's me. And but I still love the Sounders. Don't get me wrong. I still love the Sounders. I've been a season ticket holder since 2013, and I've traveled home and away for them, and it'll still be the case. I just want things to be better. I will say things as it is. I'm not someone that's gonna sugarcoat it, and that's just how I grew up. I mean, it's either you sink or swim, and yeah.
And right now they're sinking. Edgar, where can they find you on all social medias?
Well, you guys saw my son came home.
Yeah, shout out to Ezra.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ezra.
He should have dropped the score prediction at that point.
You should have asked them.
He's actually turning 8 in about a week or two.
Hey.
Little guy. I mean, I'm sorry, he's turning 4, not 8. What am I thinking?
No, yeah, he's 8.
Sorry. He was born April 8th. But
April
anyway,
8th.
you guys can find me on Twitter, Instagram as Edgar Nags. Brian, take us home, dude.
You can find me as Bryant Snags on Instagram and X. And of course, follow us on News Across the Galaxy on YouTube, Instagram, X, TikTok. We're gonna have way more content like this where we talk to shit talking aspect fans from other teams that love to come on and just spew their feelings about their team. Because to be honest, I like these type of episodes just because our fan base gets to know your guys' fan base, and then hopefully it does the reverse when you share the stuff. With that being said, that does it for me, Bryant, and from Edgar, and from Shauyan. We're gonna get up out of here, and as always, keep on nagging.
Wu-Tang for life.
Wu-Tang for life, baby.